Hey everyone, I know this is only a pre-record. We do pre-record still, especially on certain subjects that we don't want the chat flooded on, asking, can we come up, can we come up, can we come up? This is a very nasty subject that I am going to be bringing in. Guys, can you tell me what does zip ties, coins in the door, dollar bills on the in between the wiper blade and the windshield, what all does that have in common on top of many other things?
Sex trafficking.
Well, I would say what I do personally with Mama to get her in the mood, but yeah, sex trafficking. Go ahead.
There,
Dollar bills in her windshield just so that way she gets going.
no, he puts dollar bills in the G string to get her going.
Well, you got a camera in my fucking bedroom? Since we're talking about sex trafficking, are you pimping dad out and everything else by having secret cameras set up in my bedroom?
But
Wow,
to be on the serious side, guys, sex trafficking is a major problem, not only here in the United States, but all over the world.
There are modeling agencies that will reach out to you. They're not real agencies, but they'll reach out to you and be like, oh, well, if you and one of your girlfriends come, we'll pay for your trip, we'll get you over here. And they end up putting you in a
cubicle size room and making you do
naughty things.
Yeah.
And it's not just signs like, oh, there's a W1 on my headlight, or there's a dollar bill, or because I know sometimes I like putting flyers with crayons that say, hey, maybe you can practice staying in the lines. But there are modeling agencies that will reach out to you in your emails or on Facebook. That's a huge one. Or Instagram or Twitter, and they'll be like, oh, I have a modeling career for you, and they'll use that to their advantage to get you over there, and then they'll take your passport and everything.
Now, what is the difference between sex trafficking and, say, a pimp with a hooker or whatever, that they target the young girls who have problems with their families, that are cast away by their own families? Now, a lot of, in my opinion, I mean, they're kind of like correlated in a sense, because if you have a pimp that goes ahead and is targeting young girls that have problems in their own personal lives and their families and everything else, that they're reaching out for something else. They're reaching out for some type of false love.
They are in a way, but at the same point in time, they're different, because in sex trafficking, you're mainly going to
move everyone.
Exactly. It's going to be literally, you're going to be in this spot, and then next week you're going to be in a different spot, and you're going to be in a cubicle. You're not going to have a lot of room.
Right.
Or they're going to sell you off to the highest bidder. That's a big one.
More or less, with sex trafficking, you could be taken from like New York City and moved to your area in Chicago.
And
then a week later, you could be in Omaha, Nebraska, or in Dallas, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, or they could have you up for sale on the dark web to go to a different country, never be seen again.
Yep. And with pimping, that's a pimp is going to take care of their women to an aspect. When you're being sex trafficked, you might be able to eat once a day. A pimp's going to make sure you eat. A pimp's going to make sure that, you get your money. but they're going to take a part of it. Sex trafficking, you're not going to get money.
Now, also, like I said, with the sex trafficking and everything else, I think the reason why they may not feed them as much or whatever the case would be because they want thin, young-looking girls and everything
Yes.
else, which is more attractive to the clients and everything. But also the clients, I mean, the mindset of say an older man or whatever the case may be, and he tells me, I want someone that looks like a young little girl or whatever. I mean, a lot of this is all the mentality of a sex drive of a human being and everything else, and their sick thoughts and everything that they also take advantage of the sex trafficking and everything itself.
Well, exactly.
And
And there is a lot of people think, oh, they just want, skinny people. Due to the fact that there are a lot of people that are coming out, oh, I like a big girl, I like a big girl. Bigger girls are now on the line for that too.
and
Mhm.
also
Yeah, true, true.
with people that run these sex trafficking rings, they don't give a fuck how old you are.
Nope.
You could be 11 years old and be abducted and be sold on the black market.
Oh, and
And
it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy.
right.
True, true.
They
Because
go for anything.
one of the main ones that I know they go for is blonde hair, that and very pale looking. That is one of the main ones that they go for. Because my son was, the little blonde haired boy running around that really wasn't afraid of strangers. We had to watch him very closely because we found out that two of the places that we lived in at that point in time was big on sex traffic, people abducting people for sex trafficking.
Now, is there any type of site that anybody can reach out to? I mean, whoever watches the video and everything else, a site that someone can go to that if they feel harmed or they feel that maybe one
Being
of their family
groomed.
members are being someone's trying to attempt to go ahead and either kidnap them and use them for sex trafficking, or I mean, is there sites in which people may feel like they're scared or whatever that they're being
Sites
threatened
for
into
people
something
that
or
are
whatever? I mean,
threatened or
that's very important. That would help out a lot of people
thinking they're
that
being
watch this
sex
video and
trafficked.
everything else.
There is a site called, it's on DHS.gov. Department of
DHS.gov.
DHS,
Yeah,
Department of Human Services.gov. It's just the abbreviation. Stop human trafficking. And then they give the human trafficking statistics.
Now we know. I know a couple of times.
thank you,
Like
sweetheart.
And there's
It's
actually a 1
eight
800 number
eight
for them as
eight
well.
373 7888.
I
You
mean,
don't
because
have
that's
many numbers to remember, and if you feel like you are being sex trafficked, they
There ain't
call
no
that number and they will help you.
description when I put it up. All this stuff, I'll go ahead and put it in the description after it's uploaded.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll put out more informations, contact numbers that you can get a hold of if you think you are being targeted for a sex trafficking ring. Uh,
And there's
a
also
lot of
parents, I mean, this subject, I mean, is like I said, I mean, I'm going to be doing a
It's
hell of a
huge.
lot more research and everything else. Because, like I
Well,
said,
especially
even
because
family
you have
members
a
are
little
doing it.
girl, you have a daughter, and I've
Mhm.
seen your daughter. She's very gorgeous. I'd be checking her
car
headlights.
doors,
Well,
Headlights,
headlights, car
well,
door
car doors
handle.
are fun, but like, not a lot of people are going to notice a small little W and a line next to it, or just a W alone.
mm,
We've seen it, or they put a single dot on your headlight.
Yep.
We've seen it on a couple of vehicles that we buy from people, and we're like, why is this here? And it's hard to get off of it.
mm, mm.
There are many ways that they can invade your privacy.
Right.
Just
They
like
could put
there.
a coin in your door so it can jam up your door lock so they can
No.
easily get into your car.
I will tell you that they do. There is where you can like it goes in with home robberies too, where they will if your house is marked, there's going to be a rubber band on your door handle that you're not going to notice. There's going to be like bright flyers that you're not going to really notice,
Pay attention.
but it's a sign. There's going to be duct tape on your wall.
But guys, you really need to pay attention to your surroundings.
Also,
yeah.
Any little thing that's not usual in your area, like somebody's parked in the middle of the road to get you to stop.
They just want you to stop the car to get out. That way, when you're checking in the car, they can steal your car and whoever's in the car is with you. You know.
Now they also have like in my hometown and everything else. They have like sex offenders and everything else have to be registered and everything else. If you live in my neighborhood or whatever.
I believe that's a federal law.
Yeah. Sex offenders have to be registered if they've been caught and prosecuted. And I don't know how to say this without being you getting in trouble there, Mr.
Just say it.
There are a lot of YouTubers that have admitted to basically being in love with children, grooming children, and
don't say no names.
Taking advantage of children that
I don't want to abortion. Is all
are not registered.
Right.
Right. But I'm saying is that if you're in your hometown or whatever, and if you're concerned about your children and you're concerned about your family and everything else, that the ones that have been convicted and everything
they have to be registered.
Yes. They have at my hometown also that.
Now, one thing I do want you guys to notice is if, let's say, you have a little boy and a little girl, and you have a friend that is paying too much attention to one of them and not the other, buying them special little treats and, really focusing all their attention on only one of them children, that is a high sign of grooming. Now, to be clear, I have always taken in the mommy role of a lot of my friends. You can ask Chris. Groomers, if they're like groomers for children, they will normally take and start you at a young age, and they'll break down your whole entire being and make it so you're just obsessed with that person, and make it so you don't speak out against them for doing anything. And then it falls down onto the parent to be like, yeah, no. But like with Chris and Cody, I met Cody when he was 14 years old. I was friends with Chris too. Cody and I played video games. It wasn't until Cody hit 18 years old that he really got anything financial from me and Waldo, and that was because it was a birthday present.
Yeah.
When he got his computer. Yep. It was presents for his birthdays that he got anything. When I'm talking about grooming, I'm talking like dropping hundreds of dollars on them.
And it doesn't even start out with hundreds of dollars. It could be like taking them out to eat.
Yeah, taking them out
as a special reward type thing that they think of. and then it goes on to like toys. It depends on how old they are.
Right.
And
Then
come
it goes
sit on
out
my lap. And it's okay,
jewelry,
you can sit on my lap.
clothes.
Right.
Mm, mm.
The gifts get more expensive as it goes on. Like they're building a relationship with this
Based off of
person
the.
in their mind.
Okay,
Yep.
we had a situation, and you told this person, pay attention to your surroundings, get cameras, get a Ring doorbell. Uh, we told them like if there's like ever a zip tie on your car, cut that bitch off right away. That's a sign to other people that hey, there's women here, you can get them. You know,
Well, see, and that's the thing with that zip tie one.
yeah,
It's more noticeable than like the W2,
right,
and but it's also going to cause you to stop and take it off. Your best bet is to go to the police
right.
station and have them remove it.
Oh, I
Also,
mean, if you like at home or
when
whatever,
they're
you know.
when they're
Still go to
targeting
the police station and have them remove it.
kids, they look for that special kid, like the parents not paying attention to them,
Or
or somebody that's
someone that
trying
has
to find
problems,
friends
yeah, like
and things like
autistic,
that.
or
Lonely.
Or
they really
let's
look out for like disabled
Austin.
people. Yeah,
Austin's a good one
like
because he was always wore his heart on his sleeve.
right.
He
Always.
would. I took him out for breakfast at McDonald's one day, and this homeless guy
Ask for money for a
asked for
burger or
money for
something.
food. I said, "I'm sorry, I don't have it." Austin had three breakfast burritos. He ended up giving two of his breakfast burritos to that
Guy.
homeless guy.
But
Hey,
yeah, it, that's another one that people will get you at is where there's homeless people. There are homeless people that do ask for funds, but there are homeless people that will get people to come over and talk to them and whatnot,
Right.
just so that way they can get an identification of their vehicles, how many people are there, and basically what they are is considered a scouter. That scouter is going to report to their the
boss.
person up above them, hey, there's a lady here with two kids, and she doesn't look that very strong. She'd be a good candidate. One of the main things that they do look for is parents with disabilities because they don't think they're going to be able to fight as much, and they don't think they're going to be able to protect their kids as much. There was actually a story that I read not that long ago about a lady who was coming out of the mall, and there was a homeless guy that was following them to their car, and she was sitting there and trying to get her keys out, and she's out of her bag, and she couldn't find them because she had all the bags and whatnot. And they ended up. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to go back in," but because she was standing there so long, and the guy was standing on the passenger side rear, like passenger side of the vehicle, but the rear
Rear
seat,
door,
rear door.
rear
And
quarter.
he was standing there talking to her kids while she's looking for her keys. But because it took so long for her to find her keys, he ended up giving up and getting frustrated and just walking away. Well, it wasn't until she ended up taking her and getting as soon as he left, like a good while left, she found her keys and she got in the vehicle and locked the door real quick. But as she was contacting her husband, who is a police officer, he's like, "Oh my God, you know why he was standing there?" as soon as you unlock the car door for them kids to get in,
He would have got in.
he would have got in, and then because he did not wear a mask or anything, he would have done God knows what with them.
Mm, mm.
Right.
Now, is there certain things that can help out the people who are going to watch this video and everything else? Certain signs that say your child was perfectly normal. I mean, there was like the regular behavior and everything else. Are there certain signs that you guys may have done some research on and everything else that something is wrong, something's turning, something is, is it on, what type of advice would you give the parents as far as like monitoring your children's social medias and everything else? Like a lot of kids nowadays,
Check
they'd
their
be like, don't.
phones.
Yeah.
Check the phones, check your surroundings on the outside, because I do know not all kids stay inside and play video games.
Right.
I will
A
tell
lot
you
of
that if
a lot of them
you're
do go outside at a young age, and if you start seeing a specific vehicle going around more often than usual,
And their attitudes.
and if they go by slow or they parked across the road or whatever,
That's where paying attention.
that's where you need to pay attention.
Right, your surroundings, but I'm saying within your own home or whatever,
he's
that certain
talking
things
about
that
is
child starts to
Oh, with the kids itself.
start to
Yeah.
change and everything else. Certain things that you feel are changing.
Distancing,
Attitudes.
attitudes, yeah.
but some
How
of
would
the
you
very
say? How would you say if your child is like very conservative dresser? Okay, say you have a young daughter and everything else. She's very conservative dressing. Always make sure she's not showing nothing on top. Always, high type and loose stuff and everything else. Then all of a sudden, she starts changing her hair. She starts going ahead and putting on at a younger age now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain age in which parents need to be aware of allowing your children to go ahead and have fucking makeup on and everything else. I'm sorry, my daughters were 15. They had to wait until they were 15 before mama would let them put any makeup
only
on.
that, Dad, but like if you notice, like your daughter's walking around with the necklace that you didn't buy her,
Yeah.
little
Different types
like,
of clothing that you've never seen.
like
Right.
if they're young, like say stuffed animals that you don't know where they came from, or little.
No, but that's young. That's at a very young age for our stuffed animals.
Even
and
at
everything else,
a,
though. I'm talking about when your child is getting 15, 16, 17 years old and everything else.
there's still a lot of girls
It
at
depends,
that age that like stuffed animals
Yeah.
still.
oh
And-
god
and,
yes
like if they're special needs or whatever.
He didn't. He said not special need, normal.
No, just
no.
just that there is no thing. I'm saying here, my daughters. I'll use my daughters as example. Okay, that say they were 15 or whatever, like my daughter Tanya and Amber. They're very very conservative dressers, and that's only because of the mother. My wife is that extremely about hey, let's put that up. No mini skirts and everything else coming up to almost to the crack of your ass and everything else. But I'm saying is, but if that child starts getting 15, 16 years old or whatever, and starts like putting stuff where you can almost see the hoochie hooch or whatever the hell and everything else, I'm talking about really tight tops, showing almost everything or whatever. The behavior is completely changed and everything else. No respect anymore.
That is a good sign of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that an abrupt
Right.
behavioral change in your child
Right.
as a parent, it is your job to go ahead and check out what is
I'm sorry.
causing that.
You know what? All bets
Or
are off when
what's
it comes to
going on
kids.
through their social media.
All bets in that case, all bets are off on my kid. If it was one of my girls, I'd be going through their fucking diary. I'd be going through their phone. I'd be going through the shit on the internet.
they're not a lot of kids ain't going to, especially nowadays with how, especially if you have like a helicopter parent, they're not going to write in their diary, they're not going to go through have it on their phone or anything else. A lot of it will be in secret to the point where they are hiding it from you. Some of the main ways you can tell is once again the change of clothes and everything. Yes,
Jewelry.
and that's mainly to make sure that you and your kid are very, I'm trying to
Communicating,
think of the, it's
that
so that way
communicate
your
with them.
parents don't notice, but the person that has been grooming or doing the no with you is attracted to you. Um,
Yep.
One of the things they'll do is they'll wear it under baggier clothes so you won't
Or
notice it.
they'll
But
go to a friend's house and change.
but the some of the easy ways to tell that there's something going on besides behavioral wise
Yeah.
is dreams. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of people who are assaulted will have very vivid dreams. You'll hear them screaming in their sleep. You'll hear them um they'll be locked in their room. They'll cry easilier.
Yeah.
Um they'll feel like a failure constantly. Um
Don't even think
they'll
like,
just want to be away from you and
okay,
away from the world because there's so much stress and burden on them.
right.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, okay, say your kid ain't got no money, right? And he comes up with a TV that you didn't buy for him. He ain't got no money. How in the hell did you get it? You know? Then you go ask grandma, Grandma, did you buy this CD for him? No, I didn't buy it for him. Well, how in the fuck did he get it? You know? Little gifts and stuff, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, like I said though, I mean that it's also the job of the parents that
Right.
I believe a lot of this can be prevented if
Yes.
you are doing your due diligence as a parent, checking into things like mama, all my girls coming up and everything, and even my boys, believe it or not, coming up. She used to go in their bedrooms all the time. She would go in their drawers, go ahead underneath their bed, underneath their mattress, in their closets, checking out like they'd have boxes stored or whatever, and she would be just opening them up. And they used to get pissed at her and everything else. But now that they've gotten older and they see what's going on out in society and everything else, trying to protect the children and everything else,
Yep.
they get it now as an adult, older.
Yeah.
They get it. They're like, all right, I understand you weren't just trying to snoop and everything else. No, we're trying to protect the children and everything else from demented people and demented, and like I said, it's big business, sex trafficking. I mean,
Yes, it is.
I mean, this it is more than say like we were talking about with a hooker and a pimp or whatever. This is way bigger than that because the amount they doll these young girls up like Froggy said, it's more girls than boys. Not saying that it's not boys, but it's more predominantly with the younger girls
Right.
and everything else.
Yeah.
But you have to have it a point in time where the people who are needing these services, how sick fucks they are that they want the younger little girls. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, from what I seen on TV and everything else, is that it's a lot older. I ain't talking 20, 30-year olds, okay? I'm talking about
Yeah.
older ass men,
About
50,
40,
60, 70
50,
years old.
60. Yeah.
Exactly. And everything else that require these services, and they're not services. These are just, let me make that perfectly clear. This is not a service. This is a money maker, and it's going ahead against the youth of America and trying to go, and not just America, everywhere across the
And
world.
parents shouldn't be afraid to talk to their kids.
Right.
You know? I mean,
Plus,
that's a lot of it. Is like the parents are just kind of afraid to even say anything to their kids.
I
Like,
do have to commend one state. I really do. South Carolina.
Why? What do they got?
For the simple reason, I pulled into one of the rest areas in there when we were going to go see another YouTuber, also the ones that did our tattoos. They got plaques put on their rest areas. High danger of sex trafficking. Please be aware. Right on their wall.
But if they're saying high danger of that, it's highly done there. So then, what are they doing to combat that so that that sign doesn't need to be
Well,
needed?
for one, they're making people aware.
What they're doing, they're making people aware so they can keep an eye open for things out of the ordinary.
That's where paying attention to your surroundings and everything. Like,
or keeping an eye on your children when you're there.
I've had people staring at the boys before, and the boys were like, "Mom, that guy's looking at me." I was like, "Just get your ass in the car and keep the doors locked. Right now, just keep the doors locked. Wait until your dad gets back. We'll be fine." And, and they were afraid to get out of the car because the people were staring at them.
Don't get me wrong. A lot of people that stare, a lot of them are harmless, but it's that danger of not knowing.
Our kids were very unique when it came to things like that because
they were more observant than what we are.
Right. Because
but I guess we raised them well.
With me not being able to see, they watched out for themselves and they watched out for me, So
carry mace on you.
What's that?
Mace.
If you have a child, there are keychains.
There's a problem, Harvey. If I carry mace, I'd probably shoot myself in the eye.
you give it to your children. But I could see you doing that.
So Unatic Daddy would have giggled there a little.
But there are safety keychains that you can give to your children. I think they're like $85 a keychain. They come with mace. They come with an emergency whistle. They come with a small key knife. They come with it's like kitty ears, but they're nice and sharp where you can just jab them into somebody's eye. It comes with a bunch of different things so that way they have that keychain on them for the safety.
That's why when my kids were little, I always told them, if anybody ever tries to snatch you other than me, your dad, your grandma, grandpa, whatever, hit, kick, bite, scratch, whatever you got to do to get the fuck away.
Scream. Scream is the number one. The way I look at it is, I mean, we've all with the kids and everything
else. Them all.
Yeah, she told them all.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you, screaming is not always effective, especially if you're little, because wrestling and all of that. Being dead weight and wrapping your legs around one of their legs and your arms around their other arms, so they trip and fall, and the whole entire time you scream, is a great way to get it so they can't run. They can't pick you up and get you off of them. And at the same point in time, you're bringing an attraction.
Yelling fire.
Right. But
I used to tell my kids, rape.
Teach your children at a young age about the way when I was going into school. Now, mind you, this is way back in the 60s, people, all right? I know I'm old. But they had actually things in which if someone you don't know and everything else, don't go into cars. That is number one. If anybody says, I can give you a ride or whatever the case may be, no, you don't know them. You don't get into their car.
Just like the one video, remember?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this advice to all parents of children. Make up a code word.
Yep.
Hey, Mom, that pot roast looks great. Or, pot roast be the code word. If they don't know that code word, don't get in their vehicle. If you're at a friend's house and you're feeling uncomfortable and you say, hey, Mom, are you cooking that pot roast tonight? Your mom's going to know that something's going on and to get there and get you.
Right.
That is fantastic. I never, in my whole raising all these kids all my life and everything else, that is fabulous, Froggy. That is, let's revisit that. Code word for your children when they are in distress, and that you as a parent only know. Great fucking point, Froggy. That
also, with the parents, Be more affected in your children's lives.
Don't hand them your tablet and think they're fine because
Don't be
what
afraid to
I
talk.
will put it this way, there is one famous YouTuber that is targeted hard towards children, hanging out with friends she has made since she was 12. She's in her 20s now, and four of them have been are known groomers, and one of them is a self-proclaimed predator.
Also,
Don't be afraid to talk
now,
to your kids. So
Wow.
to keep yourself safe, like what Lunatic Dad did. If you do become friends with a younger person,
Put a boundary there.
permission.
Boundary.
talk to the parents. Get to know the parents before
Get to
you
know the
have
parents.
any interaction with that child.
Also, constantly, and I mean constantly, put boundaries. It is okay to have boundaries.
Right.
Yes.
And
In
talk.
any relationship, you need boundaries. So
Talk-
let's say,
Don't be afraid. Talk to your kids. I mean,
let's
a lot
say,
of shit is uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, at least you know your kid's safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
yes, but we're
Right.
talking. If you are a woman that is, or a man that is friends with a minor, there should be boundaries there. There should be no inappropriate talk.
Well, we
If you
always
hear inappropriate talk towards them, you should say, whoa, 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 whoa. He's a minor. Knock it off.
right.
She's a minor. Knock it off.
So I mean,
Exactly.
there
No,
is
I
no
agree
way
100%.
I would
Be-
not
Froggy,
get permission.
Froggy has done that many times on her stream when she's playing my kid before he turned 18.
Somebody would say something, and I'd be like, no, he's a minor. Knock it off.
Mhm.
And that's always been my mentality. He's a minor. Knock it off.
Yep.
And that's why YouTube frowns upon anybody if your channel is marked as like me. I'm adult content, okay? My content is speared towards 18 or older. Are there people younger than 18 that watch Dad? Yes. Can I stop that? No. There's nothing I can do about it, but I can damn well make it perfectly clear that if I'm on a panel or whatever, I will never ever be with somebody that's under the age of 18 on a panel. It's not going to happen. I just won't do it. That's my own preference and everything else.
And for the matter, like when I say parents shouldn't be afraid to talk to kids, I don't think the kids should be afraid to go, "Hey, mom,
Talk
this
to
is
the parents
what's
as
going
well.
on. Hey, dad, there's this guy who's really been creeping me out, or there's this guy that wants to buy me all this stuff."
And
There's
and
nothing
and,
wrong with
and it's
either
got a
one.
flip side to that, and we all know the person or whatever that Dad said that he feels very uncomfortable and everything else. That
Yeah.
that is well over 18 or whatever, but their actions on social medias towards Dad and everything else wigs me out, and I'm very
Like when I go,
uncomfortable.
"Oh,
Very
dad,"
uncomfortable.
like, "Oh, just stop it right now. Don't that just don't." Don't.
Well, okay,
No, I'm
so
I- I'm trying to just say is that
Right.
I know. I'm
sometimes
just
the
saying
you
there's things
it's
that,
the
that I
you
do that made you kind of.
no, no,
Wait,
no, no, no,
you're,
no.
you're my
Not you.
daughter,
It's
and
it's a broader thing I'm trying to explain to you. It's a broader thing I'm trying to explain to you.
I
Missy,
understand.
hang on, just listen.
It's a broader thing I'm trying to say is that sometimes also older people will also on social medias get targeted by
But
younger
I'm saying,
people
like,
because
when
they're
I
missing
did
something.
make someone else, kind of do the same thing, and it just kind of, you're like, just don't. Stop.
And,
Dad,
but
I understand what you're talking about. Sometimes there are 18, 19, 20-year-olds going after the older men because they have a daddy kink. Um, or they end up fantasizing about a relationship in their head that
Well,
they
Yep.
true. It's true.
That we definitely have to watch out for as friends. If your friend is a YouTuber or even small stream, or you're a small streamer, you have to really focus on that because there are going to be people that use you for clout. You're easily attacked
Yep.
for, let's say, you are an older person like me, all of us,
Damn, you
and
are old. I ain't gonna lie. You are fucking old. Go
I
ahead.
know,
You're older.
I know, 39 is so old.
You're
Ain't that right, Grandpa?
She's the youngest one. What
I
the hell
got
you
your
talking
grandpa, buddy. I got your grandpa. Don't worry about it.
about? Yeah, well, you know what?
There,
Cody's Uncle Grandpa. So
there are a lot of people that will target older YouTubers for
number.
four main things. Okay, daddy kink, mommy kink, um, financial,
I'm in the clear.
Oh, yeah.
um, sexual. Sorry to say, they will target you
Yes.
because they know, especially with all the stuff going on with grooming and sex trafficking. If you're disabled or you're an easy target, they're gonna easily be able to track you down, get you, and put you in a sex trafficking thing.
Right.
And,
Or
oh,
there's one left. I said four, homie. I
yeah.
said four. The last one, and this is the most serious one, is their mental stability has put them in a
Fantasy.
fantasy about you.
Right.
And there's, once again, on Reddit, there was a story about a guy that literally just went to work every day, didn't really hang out with this woman, said hi, interviewed her twice. You know, he was a hiring manager.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she's got this fantasy in her head that they've had this love affair. They're having a love child. And it was in her head. But the stalking, it got to the point where they literally had to pack up their house and move because her stalking was horrible.
Well, then that's also the responsibility of, like you say, knowing the signs, knowing what you're
Yep.
seeing, and don't be afraid to put a
Speak
stop
up.
or some type of boundaries as an older person and everything else. But like, hey, I don't mind having a good time. I don't mind talking crap or whatever the case may be. But when you start getting into my personal life and you start talking some crazy stuff and everything else, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Can you please stop it? Now, if they continue to go ahead and do it and do it and do it, and they are just basically not hearing you, then if you're on social medias or whatever, you have to go ahead and give them a sign. Like in Dad's case, I took away a mod and everything else. That's my sign of telling you, hey, back off. I'm letting you know that right now. You are making me feel completely uncomfortable, and I don't mind being on a stream, talking shit and everything else. But when you start getting into my personal life and everything else, now you have raised big red flags on me and everything else.
Yep.
I mean,
On
it gets scary sometimes. Trust me. Don't be afraid to hurt somebody's feelings because you're going to help them in the long run. You're actually going to help them and then let them know, hey, this is inappropriate behavior.
and another way that fantasy can actually begin, unfortunately, and yes, I'm bad for it myself.
Is
On
role
top
playing.
of lunatic dad is bad for this, saying we love you all. We are grateful for you guys to come in. It only takes one person to take that shit so far out of content when we mean absolutely nothing over it.
Yes,
We
and I
love
am
that
guilty
you
of that
guys
myself.
come in. Much
That
love to you guys. Thank you. That's more or less what we are saying. Thank you for coming in and supporting us.
Like if I use the words "I love you," and there is a big difference on social media is when it says "I love you." That means I'm making it personal to you. Okay. If I say just much love to you, that means I'm wishing you well. I want you nothing but the best in your life and everything else. There is a big difference, and I try to always differentiate that whenever if I go live or whatever the case may be. It's very important and everything else because, like I said, I can say I love you, Missy, or Chris, or the Wild One, or Froggy Love. If I say I love you, now that I've made it now personal and everything else, that
Exactly.
it
And
means something.
if you ever hear me, I always say, "Love y'all, bye."
Yes, yes, yes.
It's not personal. It's, hey, I love you, but I love you because you good people, and I've already kind
Right,
of checked you out.
right.
Also, that's another thing. Don't be afraid to put a background check on your friends. I'm sorry to say, we're living in in this world where we need a background check because there is so many people out there that hide their background. And
Yep.
I'm
And
talking a criminal background. And I'm sorry, but
I've
my
killed
dad had the
75
best.
people. I killed
Okay.
75 people, so now you know everything about that, and I've gotten away with it. No, I'm just joking. That's just YouTube joking around, joking around. I'm only joking. I didn't.
Nor
But
did
my dad had a
I.
great idea when I was 16 and dating, and he made him follow through with it. Anybody want to hear his idea?
What?
They had to pay my dad to do a background check. They had to bring in their own driving record. They had to bring in proof of insurance, 3 pay stubs, and their job history.
Oh.
That sounds like my father.
My
Holy
grandma just ran
And
a background check on my
the thing
stepmom.
is, the thing is, nowadays you can never be too safe.
You
no,
can't be.
not in
And
today's society. No, no.
Okay, when my dad wanted to marry my stepmom, right? My grandmother hired a freaking private investigator to find out, find the shit out that she wanted to know. Like, was she a decent person? What was her whole background and everything? I'm like, man,
because of the age difference
So
with Roy and I,
check on me.
grandma,
Yeah,
grandma was in the fucking nursing home.
that doesn't mean.
because of the age difference with Roy and I, my grandma did a background check on him. It took 3.5 months to find anything about him, but the only thing they found out was that he had a foreclosure on a house.
And that happens. That's financial shit happens. I mean,
Yeah,
Exactly.
unfortunate circumstance.
But literally,
Do we
you could
check?
do a background check on me.
oh, yeah.
Nothing's going to come up. You could do, a matter of fact, in order to get into my trailer court, they had to do a background check. I was a security officer. They had to do a federal background check.
Right.
Um, that's another thing. Don't. Yeah, dating cops and military is okay depending on the person, but there are abusive military and abusive cops, just like there are normal people. But don't push off the red flags. Pay attention to them. And
Yep.
I've
Sure
heard
here.
so many people who have gone through half the situation that I have, or even one has, that we pushed off the red flags.
Right. Okay, guys.
And
Oh, go ahead, Froggy.
part of those red flags, I'm sorry to say, is financial abuse. That's the big one. That's where it starts. Well, you should stay home and take care of the kids. You should stay home. You really don't need to work. I'll take care of us.
I have no choice.
What?
Now, like in my case, Like in my case, like with Mama worked her whole life, but when she had the brain tumors and all this other stuff, she could stay on her feet like, 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
and everything else. Then all of a sudden she'll start getting dizzy and like she wants to fall out. So,
Right.
it is what it is with her.
Yes.
But that's the only reason why. Otherwise, I would not be able to, if she was perfectly, there's no ailments or no stuff like that. There's no way I could tell my wife, hey, no, you stay home, I got it. She'd look at me and say, go fuck off. I'm my own individual. I'm going to do my part of this family, and that's what I want to do.
Yep.
And everything.
And that's
And that's
just
what
like
we
in
love
my
about it.
household. In my household, I have my own income, and Roy has his income. Yes, we have income that comes into this house, and I pay the bills. That's part of our agreement. Is I pay all the bills. He pays all my wants. Stupid him. I would have took the bills. Um, but once again, there's that communication there. And I know if anything happens between Roy and I, or something happens to Roy, I am financially stable.
Right.
I can take care of my bills. I can take care of my son.
Right.
I can take care of our needs.
Okay, guys. I am going to cut this part of this whole thing on sex trafficking now
Be
for the
aware.
simple reason because this can open up to many, many, many parts, just
Yeah.
like the one we're going to do next weekend.
Oh, yes. I
But
will be here for it.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Wow. That was the worst fucking response, Chris, I have ever heard. She's like, yeah,
I already
no.
I'm
explained
sorry.
why.
We're gonna miss the
Wow.
froggy one. We're gonna miss the hippity hop.
I
Nope.
already explained why. I don't
Yeah.
think you got. I'll be driving to Iowa.
I
yay!
always.
Yeah, I'll be driving to Iowa. When we got to take care of a whole. We got to go clean house. Okay, we got to go pack our stuff and clean house.
Do that
Mm,
shit.
But
Well, my daughter is literally having mental breakdowns. My neighbors are sending cops over there to the point they don't even call. They don't even come out anymore. They just call her and it's like, "Hey, are you in town?" She'll be like, "Yeah, I'm sitting in my fucking house." Oh, okay. Well, we got to call on you again for a welfare check on the dogs because nobody's seen you. She goes, nobody's gonna see me if I am sitting in my house. I don't like lights.
mm,
Pay
yeah. Right. Right.
but Froggy, do you have any final words for the people that are going to watch this?
attention. Pay attention to your kids. Pay attention to the red flags. Pay attention to your surroundings. And remember, just because somebody says, love y'all, does not mean that they're in love with you.
Lunatic Dad. Now
And to
you.
bounce off of that, to prevent a lot of this children seeking love elsewhere and everything else, love your kids. Love your kids. Tell them every day that you love them, and be there for them, and pay attention to the warning signs. Pay attention to mood swings and everything else of your children and everything else, because remember, they didn't ask to be brought into this world. You decided to bring them into this world. That's all I got.
And to double bounce off everybody, don't be afraid. Okay, guys, do the talking amongst each other. Do the research. Find out what's going on in your kids' life. Talk to them. Be there for them. You know, love and light to everybody. And I hope this video helped.
Also, to add on to that, guys, like people said, pay attention to your surroundings. If something looks strange that's happening and it's starting to occur more frequently, pay attention to that. They didn't put out those commercials back in the 80s saying with a white van spray painted free candy kids for a reason.
Also, if somebody says, will you help me find my puppy? They ain't got a goddamn puppy. They just want you.
Right.
Leave the puppies alone.
Can I play with the puppies?
You did this morning, so hush.
But
Ew.
anyways, trying to up the tension from the stream we just had, because I know it was a very difficult one to talk to, not only for myself and Froggy, but also for Lunatic Dad, because I just dropped
Sprayed
this
it on
at
him.
him with no
No warning.
warning at all.
No pre-ejaculation.
Yeah, definitely no pre-ejaculation. But on my behalf, I do believe he did very well with this talk.
Did.
And I know he did gather up quite a bit of information on it all. But guys, please be more in your be more present in your children's lives, because if a predator see a guy out in the yard with their kids, they're more likely going to pass your child up, or they are more likely going to find out what your schedule is. And
Your best bet is have a brother, uncle, dad with you a lot.
And don't make your schedule routine.
And that's hard for a lot of people who have to have routines.
It is, but also, like you said, if they have a uncle or an older brother or an older family member or a real good friend of the family, like you knew your whole life, and you already know what their background check is because your damn ass was probably in jail with them for the stupid shit they did. But somebody that grew up and knows your family, if they're watching them, make sure they're outside with your kids when they're playing, guys. These people are getting more effective in their ways of doing things.
Also,
they have their affected way of marking your kids, or marking a place of dwelling, or marking your vehicles so they know who they are targeting.
check for AirPods or AirTags around your vehicle if you have an iPhone, because that's another thing they'll do is they will drop like their earphone by the in the crack of your hood. They'll drop an earphone in there and track where your vehicle goes.
Right, the Apple thing.
You guys realize that you guys suck at a fucking outro. Just saying. This is typical fucking outlaws. This is the typical fucking outlaws. We're ready to tie it up, and then we just continue a new fucking stream. Go ahead. Saying. I'm just saying. We have that history, you know.
Yeah, we do. But we want to make sure they know a lot of the precautions that we talked about.
Right.
All right, Chris.
And that's important. But thank you guys for watching this upload. I do hope you guys enjoy it. Much love. And that's much love as in we enjoy you guys watching the videos. And with that being said, please keep your kids safe.
Hell yeah. Hell
Love
yeah.
y'all. Bye.
Outlaws out.